Multiplying and dividing signed numbers is a whole lot easier than adding and subtracting. The rules are quite easy. If you have a positive multiplied by a positive, the result is a positive. And if you have a negative multiplied by a negative, the result is also positive. In other words, if the two things that you're multiplying together have the same sign, then the product is positive. If the two things that you're multiplying together have a different sign, positive multiplied by a negative or a negative multiplied by a positive, in both of those cases the product is negative. So that's when the signs are opposite. And there's none of this depends stuff in terms of, if there's the sign of the larger, etc., as we had in addition and subtraction. It's just these are the rules automatically. Now, if you want to change out the word multiply for the word divide, then all the rules are the same. For example, if you're dividing and the signs are opposite, the quotient is negative. If you're dividing and the signs are the same, the quotient is positive. Okay, let's move on to some sample problems. These go really quickly. Here we go. 40 divided by negative 8. They are opposite in sign, so the quotient will be negative. And 40 divided by 8 is 5, so negative 5. Multiplying, the signs are opposite, so the product will be negative, and you get negative 56. 7 times 8 is 56. In negative 3 times negative 9, the signs are the same, so the product is positive, and 9 times 3 is 27. Even though this looks like a fraction and it is a division problem, the signs are opposite, so the quotient will be negative, and 20 divided by 4 is 5, negative 5. When you are multiplying or dividing a string of numbers together, then you can just work from left to right. A negative times a positive is a negative. That negative times another negative makes a positive, times another positive makes positive. And then you just multiply the numbers together. 2 times 3 is 6, times 4 is 24, times 2 is 48. In this next case, when you have a negative times a negative times negative times negative over and over and over and over again, 57 times, the product is going to be negative 1. And that's because a negative times a negative is a positive, times by a negative is a negative, times by a negative is a positive, and it keeps going back and forth between a positive and a negative. And that illustrates this next property we have here. If we have a negative being multiplied by itself n times, the product will either be positive or negative depending on whether n is even or odd. If n is even, you have an even number of negatives that you're multiplying together, the product will be positive. And if there is an odd number of negatives being multiplied together, the product will be negative. Now, some people take that a little bit too far and they get messed up with this last problem that I have in this column. Be careful. When you have negative 2 to the 4th power written without parentheses, that's really negative 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Whereas when there's parentheses, that is negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. And these give you different results. The first one is negative times all those 2's together to get 16. And in this second case, a negative times a negative, there's 4 negatives altogether, meaning you get positive 16. I like to say that an exponent is nearsighted and it only goes with what is directly next to it. In this first case, the 4 only goes with the 2. Only the 2 is being multiplied by itself 4 times, and then we multiply it by the negative out in front. And as it's nearsighted, it likes to wear glasses, and this is like the circle rim of the glasses here. Now it can see everything inside, and now that 4th power gets applied to everything inside, and all of it is being multiplied by itself 4 times to make that a positive result. I like to say negatives are nearsighted and only go with whatever they're directly next to, unless they're parentheses saying all this stuff inside gets raised to that power.